Welcome to the Cake Therapy Podcast, a slice of joy and healing with your host, Dr. Altricia Foster. This is a heartwarming and uplifting space that celebrates the transformative power of baking therapy. The conversations will be a delightful blend of inspirational stories, expert insights, and practical baking tips. Each episode will take listeners on a journey of self-discovery, emotional healing, and connection through the therapeutic art of baking. There's something here for everyone, so lock in and let's get into it.
Everyone, good day. Welcome back to Cake Therapy with me, Tricia Foster. Today, your slice of joy and healing is going to be a fun one. And today's guest is well known in the cake industry. I think once I mention her name, oh, everybody's gonna be like, "Oh, this is she. This is who we're talking about, right?" But she doesn't need a long introduction, I believe. Just say her name, and because she's that girl, she's that lady. So I want to welcome Portia Kimble to our space today. I'm excited to have her. So welcome, Portia.
Thank you, Dr. Altricia Foster. I'm honored to be doing your podcast. I appreciate you doing mine. So, of course, I'm never going to say no to you. So, thank you again.
Yeah, thank you for having me on the podcast. And I'm excited that you could have said no. You know, you're a busy girl. You could have said no, and but you didn't, and I'm really, really appreciative of that. Before we even get started, I want to tell you like how much I appreciate you, the human being, not just you, Portia, the baker cake decorator. I appreciate who you are to me, and I hope that as our listeners will learn from you as much as I have learned from you over the years.
Well,
And
thank
I'm
you.
really excited to have you. Yeah.
I
So,
appreciate that.
how are you doing? Yeah, of course.
I would say, um, you know, a lot of life changes happened unexpectedly, health wise and personal wise in the past year. And I really felt like the past week or so, I feel really good. And I don't want to say like I feel like I'm back to my old self because I'm not my old self anymore. I would just say that I can feel something better and much more
Hmm.
improved. And I'm embracing that and I'm okay with it and I'm stepping into it and
Yeah,
I'm, taking it day by day.
yeah. Well, I'm happy to hear that. Like you're feeling the difference. I've seen the difference, and I'm hearing the difference in your voice and in your lives that you do daily, or um
Yeah.
3 times, 4 times weekly. I can tell, and I am an avid supporter of your work. So I watch what you do because I want to live in that space, right? I want to be like Portia. So
Oh,
I take
Lord.
notes. I do.
Girl. No.
I do. I take notes. And I love where you talk about transformation. But what are you transforming from? Tell me who Portia is.
Hmm. That is an amazing question. That's a deep question. So I would say that something has to happen to maybe trigger you to make a shift. I would say the first time it happened to me, it was September 2018. I was in a training for work and it was with I can't remember the name, but it was basically about marketing and advertising and the perception that you give people. And it hit me like a ton of bricks
Mhm.
because if you watch me or previous years ago, you'd be like, "Bro, she's really aggressive, she's rough around the edges," and people probably still say that now. She's very blunt, she cusses, all of these things. And when I took that training, I mean, I was taking so many notes that I was just like, oh my God, it made me shift. Like, I'm not going to bash anyone publicly. I'm not going to make fun of anyone. Like, all of these things I was doing, I was like, I'm giving this perception that I'm this mean, horrible person. And then also, I'm a straight shooter. So if you've never met me in person, you may look at me online and be like, I don't like her delivery, but I'm delivering it how I've always delivered it. Maybe you're just not in the space to hear it. I always kind of look at it as when you go to church and you feel like the pastor or the preacher's talking to you, it hits you different than maybe someone else because you feel like it
Yeah.
applies. So that's kind of how I felt. But then I don't know if, the past year, I thought I wasn't thinking about my business. Hell, I wasn't even thinking about myself. But I think the transformation now is being okay to say, I'm not the best, and being okay to be open to trying new things or changing it up. I've had this same sort of teaching routine for a while, and it's kind of a military style. But then I said this year I'm going to take some more classes, and so I'm on the fence because I'm a student, and then I'm also looking at the instructor part. And so really taking this year, and I was very intentional this year about saying I was going to heal myself and take this year to really figure out where I want my business to go, what that looks like, the direction, how do my classes, my job, my profession, how do I just do something different and better? And I was
Mhm.
transforming in different areas without even knowing it. So I think I'm really just looking at my age and looking at the industry and what's happening. And, I'm not the only one out there teaching anymore. I'm not the only one doing a lot of things anymore. And, I think there was some imposter syndrome, but I kind of just woke up and thought, you know what? No one can do it like me. I've been doing this for a while. And I also felt like, I know this is going to sound crazy. Maybe I am a leader in the community. I mean, I know that sounds kind of weird because I don't look at myself in that sense, but I do realize that a lot of people do. And I thought, I'm just going to put that hat on and I'm going to show myself more. I'm going to put myself back out there. And, I've always put my business out there, period, whether you want to hear it or not, business or personal. I've always been like that since the moment I was born. But I don't know. I just felt like when I changed my name from Your Cake Diva to Portia, I thought I could kind of lower my bar a little bit in my wall. Like, I'm a person. What if I don't want to do cakes forever? I feel like I had pigeonholed myself with that. So I think just giving myself the name took some things off of me that made me feel okay to explore other avenues in the cake industry.
Yeah. So I'm glad that you mentioned your cake diva because that's how I met you, in a sense that that's my first connection with you was the cake
Yeah.
diva. I remember I remember in 2017, I believe. I'm a brand new baker, new baby, everything, and I was like, who is this lady cussing these people about their cupcakes online? But then I started
Yeah.
like, I was like, okay, I'm gonna follow this lady. But then here's the question I have for you. When How did you start baking, right? And why did you give yourself the name, the Cake Diva, and not own the Portia Kimble? Why did you feel like you needed a moniker or something to?
That was the thing back then. Nobody was
Okay,
going by their name, and
okay,
it was always, fancy cakes or cakes by or Lisa Bakes or whatever the case may be. I mean, no
I
one
see.
was ever going with their name.
Hmm.
And I started baking because of my grandmother. I am Black and Hispanic. My mother's side is Hispanic. My dad's side is African American, and my grandma is the oldest of 16 kids. And so
Hmm.
she didn't have a choice. Her mother died at birth, giving birth to the last child. And so she was the head cook and the head everything. And even when her father remarried. And so my grandma also worked at the school cafeteria that all of her kids and grandkids went to school to. We live across the street.
Mm,
So that was just there. That's always been there. And even though she didn't really let us help, but that's another story. But
yeah.
people just, it was different. And I think people take that, if you do go by your name, it's bragging. It seemed very conceited back
Okay.
then. Yeah.
Hmm. So your affinity for baking started with your grandmother. Tell me about her, and tell me what that affinity is. Like, when did you start baking? What are some of the things that she baked?
My grandma is a fearless baker. She bakes everything. That's one thing I can say. We're talking bread, cheesecake, pies. I mean, she will just open up a cookbook or recipe book and say, "That's what I'm doing." And I mean, it's just no hesitation. Like I'm afraid to make a cheesecake. Like that's not my ministry, but she doesn't care. I mean, I love that about her. I think growing up, seeing her do it, just it wasn't for payment. It was
Mm-hmm.
Coach Hudgens and Miss Hudgens lived around the corner from us down the street, and so it was like, oh, Coach Hudgens loves cherry pie, and that's what she would make, the Hudgens. And so and so down the street, Miss Crescent and her husband, they like millionaire pie, so my recipe makes for, I'm going to give them one. It was always as a gift. It was never monetary or I'm going to give you this, you're going to give me something. That's not how it was. And
Mm-hmm.
she is someone that's been a staple, not just in our lives as grandkids and kids, but just in the community, from being a leader in the Catholic Church, or and something happens, back then you didn't go to the store and buy a pie. Everyone came together and cooked and made stuff and brought stuff. And that's most of my upbringing was with my grandparents, um and watching them both work really hard, and my mom, but my grandma was the one that was always in the kitchen. And those memories just will always stay with me. I mean, she is really one of the main reasons I'm doing what I do.
Yeah. Okay. So, what's your grandma's name? Share it. We all want to
Her
know.
name is her name is Sue. Uh,
Hey, Miss
she goes.
Sue.
I call her Big G. She's a little short lady, but I call her Big G. And she's feisty and she's opinionated, which is where we
Mm-hmm.
all get it from. And I will just say that, just not judgmental, just gives the best advice. She always says if we would just do what she tells us to do, our lives would be perfect. But other than that, that's it. I mean, she's amazing.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Sounds like she is. You
Yeah.
did mention that cakes and pies and cheesecake isn't your ministry. What is Portia's ministry?
I actually love to cook. I know a lot of people don't know that. I love to cook. I like baking cakes. I like baking bread. I love pound cake. I love brownies. I like the basic stuff. I love a good chocolate chip cookie. I'm not with like the stuffed stuff that people do now. I'm not into any of that. I love just a good plain piece of key lime pie. I'm not a pecan person, but I love homemade bread. I mean, if you've seen my thighs, I'm a lover of bread. But yeah, I like just nostalgia. Cookies, brownies,
Mm-hmm.
pound cakes, cupcakes. Those are the things that I enjoy baking. Not
Yeah.
That's not decorated.
Okay. Sounds good. So, Big G, your love for baking and all things cooking, I would say, started
Hmm.
with your grandma. But
Yes.
when did you decide that this baking was going to be your passion? When did you decide that you were going to start baking?
I had a dream when I was very young that I probably was about 8 or 9. I had a dream that I drove past this store. I couldn't see the store. I didn't know the name of it. I was driving, and I had this dream that I drove past the store and I went inside, and everything that I was wanting to do or needed to do was in that store. That's the feeling that I had in the dream. I didn't know what it was. So that
Mm-hmm.
was the first thing. The second thing was, growing up, I used to buy wedding magazines, not because I was getting married, obviously, but I would tear all of the flowers and all of the wedding cakes, mainly wedding cakes, out of those magazines. And those magazines are expensive. So I would tear them out and I
Mm-hmm.
would have a pile. I think my mom finally just got rid of all my tearings out of the magazine. Um, and then just really enjoying doing stuff for others, as far as being in the kitchen. So those were kind of three things that I noticed until the one day I drove by the store that was in my dreams, and it was Michael's. I saw the store. I had moved to downtown Dallas, and I saw the store and I thought, oh my God, let me stop. And I did the exact same thing I did in the dream. I turned around. I did a U turn. And when I walked in that store, I thought, this is where I'm supposed to be. Like it was telling me to come in there. And I'd always just loved cake just in general. My grandma didn't decorate, but when I went in there, there was a lady that was buying a kit, a wilting kit, and there was a sign that said, if you buy the kit, the class is free. And it was $25. And I thought, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is what I was supposed to see. And
Yeah.
I've been doing it ever since.
So you bought the kit. Did you buy
With the little
the kit
money,
that
with the
day?
little money that I had. I
And the
didn't
class
have
was
any
free?
money. Yes, it was a 4-week class. They had just come out,
Yeah.
Buddy had just come out, Cake Boss had just come out with, gum paste and fondant and all this stuff. And that was what was popular. So they had done 4 courses. They had done 3. And that's what happened. Yeah. I took the classes.
Yeah. So I was of course I was scoping the website, and I see where you said that you took that class, and towards the end of it, the instructor asked you to teach a class. Do you think like teaching was innate? Do you think that is something that innate? Do you think you were born to teach? Because here's why I'm leading with that question, because it's all you do, right? Do you think you were
Probably.
born to teach? Yeah.
I think I'm a natural born leader because I'm bossy. So there's that. But I think there's something to be said about, I was in shock that she asked me that. And when I look back at my journey, it's always been to lead something. So you're probably right. I do believe that I was supposed to be in charge of something or someone or some kids. I don't know. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm a very strong willed person. I don't think I could be a follower. I'm definitely a leader for sure.
Yeah, you definitely are a leader. You're a leader in a space, a leader in your own right. What do you feel? What do you feel when you teach?
I just feel like, I had to take a step back and, realize that not everyone's on the same level, but when I'm teaching, I want to give general information to everyone and then make people feel comfortable to ask questions because I think in the past that was a misconception I have. I'm always like, don't ask me anything stupid. And people say there's no such thing as stupid questions. There are. I don't care what anybody says. But I just feel like when I'm teaching, I'm genuinely there to help. Like I'm excited to teach my classes. I never feel like, oh God, I have to go teach a class. I never feel like that. I've never felt like that baking a cake. I'm honored that people would spend time and money to learn from me and to travel to me, to learn from me when you could have gone anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell me what that feeling is. You're honored, yes. But what does it feel like when, let's say, for all intents and purpose, I say, hey, Portia. Well, I'll be DMing you, right? At this stage, because I don't have your
Right.
number. Let's pretend we don't have your number. I'm DMing you. I'm saying good afternoon because people don't say good afternoon or hello anymore. I'm going to be saying, hey, Portia, I love your work. I'd love to come out to Texas to have you teach me. What is the response? What do you feel in that moment?
I'm excited. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
yes, absolutely. You can stay with me. I mean, that's how I am. I'm all here for helping. And I think the feeling of that you reached out to me specifically is a really exciting, igniting feeling. I'm like, absolutely. There's no hesitation at all. I'm like, girl,
Yeah.
come on, tell me when you're coming so I can make sure I'm home and tell me what you want and I'll get on top of it. That's who I am.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's good. So you are, like you said, that you are super transparent. Okay. You are
Yes.
the queen. You're not only the cake diva. You're Portia Kimble. You're super transparent, open book. whatever you're going through, well, I'm saying 15% because not everybody don't share everything on the internet. But
Right.
we know when Portia is hurt. Tell me, how what makes this space so brave and safe for you to share?
That's a tough question. I think from my upbringing, we talk about our feelings. We don't
Mhm.
brush anything under the rug. It's always been out in the open. We make fun of each other. We talk about each other and my family. And
Mhm.
I know at a young age, my mom used to tell me, you have to make a decision. You know, my mom had always told me when she was younger, my grandma had made all the decisions for her, and when she was older, she didn't know how to make a decision. So at a very young age, she was like, "You pick what you want to eat. You do this. You do this." And so I think that's where it started, and then expressing how I felt. I grew up with nothing but Caucasians. I was the only biracial student in my small West Texas town, and I remember someone saying the N word to me for the first time. I didn't know what that word meant. I never heard it. And someone called me that. And I remember going home telling my mom, and she was like, the next time someone says that to you, you're going to say X, Y, and Z. And I'll never forget Jordan, I won't say his last name, said it again. And I said something and it
Mhm.
stopped. He never called me that again. And I thought, oh my God, like, I stopped that because I said something. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and I think, and I guess sometimes it's hard to sympathize with adults who are like, oh, I just can't say it. I'm like, you can, because you can change the dynamic of how you feel. And I
Yeah.
remember being in that, I think it was a freshman in high school. I was 14, 15, I was 15 years old. And I thought, I had the power to stop him from making me
Mhm.
feel some sort of way. And I have been an open book ever since. I mean, I already talked too much anyways, but I I'm okay
Mhm.
with it. And I think watching Designing Women, you know, I never forget she's always telling people how she felt and kind of putting them in their place if they were unfair. And I thought I have to take up for myself in some way. And so sharing
Mhm.
has always just been a thing for me. My family's a sharer. We've always shared, and I'm probably share too much and I'm too trusting, but until you make me not trust you, I'm not going to share.
Yeah. Okay. So you're an advocate for talk therapy then.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So I believe that a lot of bakers bake from the same place. And I recently wrote a book, Cake Therapy: How Baking Changed My
Mhm.
Life. But then on your website, I've always known that this was your tagline, like baking literally saved my life.
Yes.
That's you. And I feel like we are baking from a similar place. I could say baking changed my life. You say baking saved your life. Um, Tell me how baking has saved your life.
You know, I was addicted to cocaine for a while. I dealt cocaine. I was a drug dealer, and then I was became a cocaine addict. And so there was this moment that I had with friends, and I thought, "Oh my god, like we're going to go to jail, we're going to get arrested." We were out at an after hour spot, and there were some people there asking us if we wanted to party afterwards. And I just didn't feel right about going with them. And a friend of mine got upset because we didn't. And in that moment, I thought, I got to stop. You know, I didn't go to therapy. I quit cold turkey on my own. Nobody knew. My parents didn't know. And I was watching Oprah, 4 o'clock. Louise Hayes was being interviewed, and her book was called You Can Heal Your Life. And I remember
Hmm.
watching that episode and thinking, and I had lost my job because I had failed a drug test, because I tested positive for cocaine. And I remember thinking like, oh my God, like, how do I change the, trajectory, I can't say that word, of my life, like what is happening? What am I doing? And cake was the only thing that I had going. I didn't have a job. I was making cakes for old, coworkers and friends. I had just started, still in the Wilton situation, and it changed my life because that's the only thing I had to hold on to.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. It was just me and cake. I mean, where else was I going? What else was I doing? That was the only thing that kept me going because I had something to do. So it's like from one habit, I switched to the other. I was putting
Yeah.
my time and energy over here to now over here. And cake has done things for my life that a lot of people will never get to experience as far as the travel destinations. It's given me opportunities unlike anyone, and I know that I'm the first for a lot of things, and that's okay. Clearly that was where I'm supposed to be. But cake has saved my life as far as like helping me in the toughest time of my life. And if it wasn't for cake, I don't know if I would still be alive. I don't know if I would be where I am today without it, because it
Yeah.
got me through, and it got me through when I got fired from jobs. Cake was there.
Mm-hmm.
Got in debt, cake was there, and needed some extra money, cake was there. And
Yeah.
it's been a revolving positive symbol of my life until it's turned into my life.
Yeah. Okay. We're going to talk about how it's turned into your life in a few.
Yeah.
But if you may, could you share with our listeners, right? What do you feel when you bake? Like when you get into your kitchen, what are you feeling?
I feel joy. I never go in like, oh God, I gotta bake. No, like I'm excited. I've always thought of like the customer or the client, the meeting that we had, what they want. I truly believe however you feel when you bake the cake is how the outcome is going to be. Because I've had some customers and I was just like, oh God. And when I felt that way, I baked that way. And then there was a problem, which I
Mm-hmm.
haven't had that many, but I feel like I was transferring my feelings onto the cake, and then it didn't come out the way I wanted. So I always tell people, I don't bake cakes for people I don't like. you know um I felt good. I know some people say like, I don't like the baking, I just like the decorating. I like all of it. It's all in one.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm
So it's
excited
all
to bake. I
encompassing
mean,
for you. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's all together. It's the start of something amazing. How could you not be excited about that? Something that you're
Yeah.
making, you're creating. That's the basic. That's the base.
Yeah. 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 So, so you are an entrepreneur, right? You're a successful entrepreneur in my eyes, in the people who look up to you, the people who follow you. Like you're a successful entrepreneur in your own right. And I'm gonna preface this because I see on your, of course, like I'm telling you, I follow you, right? And I look at what you do. Like today, you were talking about everybody's broke in the industry right now, right? So without even without even like seeing that live that you did, we believe like your how much money you have, it does not define your reach and your
Right.
impact and how successful you are in the community. So with that said, what are what has your experience been to be the first of you've mentioned that you're the first of a lot of things in this industry. What is that experience like?
It has not been easy. Um, I have been talked about and ridiculed and picked apart and been called a lot of things, and people have believed it, and maybe some experiences it was true. I don't know everyone's experience with me on their side. I think a lot of it had to do with race, because I feel like if I was white, I would have got more of a backing than I did when I started the retreat. I knew going in when I started, everyone was teaching classes from a cake supply place would have to reach out to you for you to come and teach. That was the
Mm-hmm.
thing. And they were only reaching out to people who had been on television. That was when, the Food Network had Carrie Vincent and they were doing the cake challenges. That was it. Those were the only people that you saw teaching. And I didn't see anybody black, and here we were, doing the Wilton classes, then teaching the Wilton classes, to finding out there's more of this cake world out there. There's cake shows, there's these things called days of sharing and all these things. And, to be ostracized and looked at because we were black, Like, what are they doing here? Like, the black dollar didn't mean anything. I thought, no, I have a point to prove. And if you know me, especially my mother, if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And I thought, this is a message that needs to be told to everyone, because we're here, we're not going anywhere. We can bake cakes just like everyone else. And so people have looked at me like I don't have the experience. They have shunned upon me, or like, put me down, but I'm still standing. I was the only show that happened during COVID, and most of the cake shows are gone now. So when I was told that the retreat was a horrible idea, it was different, nobody would come to it because there's no classes and there's no vendors. No, it's not, because I didn't want it to be like everyone else's. I wanted it to be different. So I was the first to do something different, especially African American. And I did it, and I'm still here, and most of those shows are gone. And so being different got me ahead of the game later, you know. And I think for people seeing what I'm doing and
Mm-hmm.
incorporating fun and music and good food, which is what my family is about, it's okay to mix all of those, and you can still learn and have a good time. And it took me a while to get there for people to see it, but they see it now. And now the same people who didn't want to do it are asking to be a part of it.
Touche.
It's okay to take
So
a different
what?
road, you know?
Yeah. What does no mean to you?
It
When you hear
doesn't mean any,
no, what does
it
that
doesn't
mean to you?
mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. It
Yeah.
just means I need to outwork you and prove to you that the no is not in my vocabulary.
Yeah.
Never has
Yeah.
been.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's good. That's good. So no is a part of my vocabulary. It used to be, but what I use no as a stepping stone. I use no as a challenge. So that's what no is and was. It used to break me though, so that's why I asked, because I know that noticed in our conversations, no means bye for you. Like, I'm gonna do it anyway. So that's why I wanted
Yeah,
to see, what your thoughts were around the no. So
yeah.
you are, I didn't check how many followers you have now on Instagram, but you're on every platform that I know. You're an inspiration to so many. You're an inspiration to so many people I know, even in my close vicinity, Minnesota, in my family. Like, you were an inspiration to those
Thank you.
individuals. Tell me, what are your top two pieces of advice for individuals who want to be entrepreneurs and are daring to walk in your footsteps? What are two pieces of
Oof.
advice that you want that you leave with those individuals?
The first piece of advice would be, your journey is yours, and it will not look like anyone else's, just like anyone else's won't look like yours. I mean, it can't. Um, and just be thankful for your own journey, that it is different. The second piece of advice I would say is, nothing is going to work
Hmm.
unless you work it. That's it. I mean, my mom told me that a long time ago. If you want it to work, you're going to have to work it. You can't leave it up to anyone else. And I've been down that road, and I
Hmm.
completely agree. I mean, there are some things you can delegate, but at the end of the day, like, I am who I am, and I am my own brand, and so nobody can sell me like me.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me the brand. What is the brand, and
It's
what do you
it's
want
crazy.
the brand to represent?
It's crazy, Altricia. I don't, it's not in a box, whatever it is. I think when I dropped the Your Cake Diva and just went with my name, I just wanted people to feel that they could relate to me. I think for a long time before
Hmm.
COVID, it was always like, oh, be married, oh, have kids. And I have not had any of those. And it's okay. I am a hardworking woman. I've worked for over 20 years. I'm running a side business. I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to live my life. I'm trying to do all the things that women and just people do in general. And I wanted people to know, like, I've always been very upfront. Like, I mess up too. And I think that's the brand is. I am you and you are me. And I may say things that you
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't, but you're thinking it, and that's okay. I'm
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm human. I mean, and I'm afraid of chocolate too, and I'm afraid of, cake pops too, but I'm going to show you I can do it because I can. So if you've got
Yeah.
all this stuff, let's do it together. That's the brand, is being relatable and being a woman at any age, and being okay to discuss what went wrong in business or what mistakes you did make, instead of trying to make everything look perfect, because it's not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what do you want your legacy to be? What does it look like? You said before you thought about, what defined the woman, not you. The definition before this is what defines a woman is her being married and having kids, right? But that comes in its own time with its own set of trouble and drama. And you can be you without all of the trappings, right? The handbags, I would call it. What is your legacy? What do you want it to be?
I just want people to, when they think of me, to think of that I was honest and I was true, and I never sold out, and everything that I've done has come from my heart and from here, and the help of people along the way, because I can't take credit for everything. But
Hmm.
I'm a hardworking person. That's the legacy. I mean, I work my ass off, and I'm just now to the point of saying, I'm here and I'm not going anywhere, and I'm going to step into this, and this is my lane right now. And I think that's the legacy, is be who you want to be and be okay with it. And whatever you want, you're just going to have to work really hard for it, because I feel like I have.
Yeah, and you have. So you work your ass off. You do. You just mentioned that you have, and we watch you pour into this community daily, Portia. Honestly, I don't know how you do it, but you do. You pour into this community 3, 4 times a day.
Yeah,
Like, what
that's my
keeps
job.
you going?
I think I just realized, I would say a couple of months ago, I was really depressed. Like May, June, like April, May,
Mm-hmm.
June, I was depressed. I didn't know that's what it was, but I was depressed. And then the whole health thing happened, and I remember just laying there like, okay, what do you want me to do? I feel like there's
Mm-hmm.
something that comes with every experience. There is a message or several messages. And I
Yeah.
remember thinking, okay, what is this about? One, you want me to slow down. Two, clearly something's wrong. And three, what's the other part of this? And I mean, there's not
Yeah.
enough time to even go through all that. But I would say I'm just now embracing like being an influencer. That's why I said, I know that sounds crazy. I even said that on my story the other day. I was like, I feel like an influencer. Like I came home to all these packages. And I think for a long time, for years, I didn't feel people wanted to hear from me. I know that sounds nuts,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't feel like anyone cared what I had to say or my opinion. But I just said, somebody, listen, we're out here listening to crazy people all day long on TikTok and Instagram. What's one more? That's me. So,
Yeah. So so that's the imposter syndrome that you mentioned earlier, right?
mhm.
How do you Oh, here's a challenge. How do you tell the girl who is listening? How does she push past that? How does she push through that syndrome to becoming her?
Put your phone down, take the
Okay.
apps off your phone,
Mm-hmm.
and go back to a time you were happy before you got into whatever it is. I mean, let's say you're a makeup artist and you just, became an esthetician or makeup, whatever you're doing, and you're seeing all these people and their journeys are a lot longer than yours. You can't compare. And I know that's hard because we're constantly seeing the comparison on our phone. That's why it's like, put it down, take a step back, and really realize that everything that's important doesn't belong in this square, in this rectangle. It's
Yeah.
everywhere else. And that would be the message for anyone going through imposter syndrome, because where are you getting it from? You're getting it from here. You're not getting it
Mm-hmm.
outside the door, So you got to find joy in what makes you happy and do more of that to,
Yeah.
to see
So
what's
put the
important.
phone down. Yep. put the
Yeah.
phone down and see what's important. You know,
Go outside.
that is a gem. Yeah.
Go
Go
outside.
outside.
Go get
Go for a
dressed
walk.
up. Go be with friends. Do if you want to travel, go somewhere you've never been. I mean, there's so many things out in the world that don't have anything to do with imposter
Mm-hmm.
syndrome. It's all carried in this little thing here. All of our worries come from here. But if you put it away,
Mm-hmm.
most of your worries are set to the side and you can enjoy what is around you.
Yeah. Yep. So Portia, you baking has saved your life. Baking has changed your life. And the premise of the Cake Therapy Foundation is to use baking to change a woman, a girl's life. The foundation aims really to teach girls how to use the concept of baking or culinary art as their therapy to work through what they're doing. What would you say to a girl who's been trauma impacted and is seeking baking or any other non-traditional art form to help them heal through, deal with some of the troubles that they've experienced? What would you say to her in a moment like this? Speak to the girl who's listening.
I would say that creating is therapeutic on its own because you get to make it what you want. And there's so many things around us that are controlled, but when you get your hands on something and you get to make it or create it, it's yours and it's whatever you want it to be. And so I would tell the girl who's traumatized and looking for answers or looking for relief that baking is one of those things. You're on your own, you're in the kitchen, you get to pick whenever you want to be in there, you get to pick whatever you want to make. That's the freedom of it. The recipes are the
Yeah,
guide. We're just asking you to go along with it and to find joy in that. And at the end of the day, you get to taste it and it's amazing. You made it.
I
And you
know.
made something.
Hmm. With your hand from scratch, or you know what I mean? There is a stillness
Whatever.
and a, yeah, your space, that what comes with you being in that big space. And I've experienced it, and it's what I thrive. It's almost like a drug. I want to go for that high that I feel each time with baking, that pleasure that comes from it. So thank you for sharing those words and an encouragement to the girl. I can't let you go without talking about what is next for Portia. I know you have the brown sugar retreat. I know you have a ton of things. So tell me about all of them. Tell me what's on the horizon.
Well, not a ton of things, but some
A
things.
ton. I
Obviously, with
love.
the flavors, there's going to be some new products. I wanted to expand my line. And so, making a business change with that has granted me the opportunity to be able to bring more flavors, which I'm very excited about. The other part is of obviously still traveling to teach. I was kind of intentional, not kind of, I was intentional about the locations that I decided to go to because the last year I really didn't do that. This like last year going into this year was just kind of wishy-washy, I felt like. I my mind wasn't as probably where it should be, but going into next year it is. Like I haven't made a schedule or put it out there like this in years. And so I'm excited to, apply some new mediums and new techniques and take my teaching and my creations up several notches. And then, with the retreats, I mean, I definitely would like to change that up after next year. I don't know if that's a big cake show. I don't know if that's other things and other platforms and collaborating with other brands. That would be
Hmm.
amazing. I feel like I'm just now stepping into more of like an ambassador role for different, brands, big and small. And I'm hoping that that develops into something more in time.
Hmm. Hmm. Well, this is great. I've thoroughly enjoyed talking with you, Portia.
Thank
I've enjoyed getting to know you even before now, but just hearing you speak of your passion and the work and the hard work that you've been doing for the baking community.
thank you.
I'm honored that you decided to join us on Cake Therapy today, and I look forward to more conversations with you. So before you hop off, share with our listeners who are from not necessarily from the cake space, but for more of the mind and well-being space, share with them how they can find you.
You can go to pkbakes.com. There's no www. I'm on TikTok as PK Crew and on Instagram, Portia.Kimble. Or you can just Google me. I hate to say it like that and find me because you will find me
Yeah.
somewhere, yes.
Trust me, you can Google her. She will pop right up. Thank you so much, Portia. This has been a great meeting, and this has been the Cake Therapy Podcast, your slice of joy and healing with me, Trisha Foster. Checking out.
Thank you for tuning in to the Cake Therapy Podcast. Your support means the world to us. Let us know what you thought about today's episode in the comment section. Remember to subscribe wherever you get your podcast. And if you found the conversation helpful, please share it with a friend. Also, follow Sugar Spoon Desserts on all social media platforms. We invite you to support Cake Therapy and the work we do with our foundation by clicking on the Buy Me a Coffee link in the description or by visiting the Cake Therapy website and making a donation. All your support will go towards the Cake Therapy Foundation and the work we are doing to help women and girls. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next episode.